In this video, we're going to learn how to name ethers. Let's jump right in. Ethers. So an ether is a compound with a carbon, single bonded to an oxygen, bonded to another carbon. And one way I tend to teach this so we can remember an ether as a carbon, oxygen, carbon, is by drawing this particular compound. And naming this is the ether bunny. Just a little joke that you can think about this little, instead of Easter bunny, ether bunny, and maybe that'll help you remember that's an ether. So like for most functional groups in organic chemistry, there's a technical IUPAC way of naming a compound, and there's a common way of naming a compound. And for ethers, we'll look at both of these ways. For the technical way of naming these, we use the form alkoxy-alkane. So we find the longest carbon chain, that's the base name for our alkane, and then we name each ether group as an alkoxy group. Let me show you what I mean. So I've drawn a couple of compounds for us to practice on. In this one, to get the name of the alkane, we find the longest carbon chain. Well, here's a 1 carbon chain. Here's a 3 carbon chain. So let's name this part first. That'll be the end of our molecule. So it's some kind of 3 carbons, some kind of propane. Now this group I still haven't named yet. This group is a methyl with an oxy on it, so we call that a meth-oxy group. So we have some kind of methoxy propane. And if we want to, we could say that's on carbon 1 of the propane. So we could call it methoxypropane or 1-methoxypropane. All right, let's name this compound. We have a 2 carbon chain on this side, a 2 carbon chain on this side. So it doesn't matter, we'll name this one. So the last name will be ethane because there's 2 carbons. Now I need to name this part. So we have an ethyl oxygen group, so that's an eth-oxy group. So we have on carbon 1 of my chain, 1-ethoxy ethane. Now let's name this group. So let's find the longest carbon chain. There's a 1 carbon chain. Let's see, we have a 1, 2, oh, I guess I could get like a 3 carbon chain if I do 1, 2, 3. We'll name this part. So 1, 2, 3. So that would be the last word propane for the base because there's 3 carbons. So I've named that part that I've circled. Now we have 2 more groups. We have this group, which we know is a methyl. And we have this group, which is the ether group. So that's a methyl-oxy or a methoxy. We have to say which carbon they're on of the propane, and they're on carbon 2 of the propane. So then we just put them in alphabetical order. This methoxy would come before methyl. So we would have on carbon 2 a methoxy, and on carbon 2 we have a methyl, and propane would be the last word on that. So this is 2-methoxy, 2-methyl propane. So that's how we name them. You find the longest chain, and then alkoxy, methoxy, ethoxy, propoxy, butoxy. That's how you name the substituent. The common way of naming them may be a little easier. So what you do is you name the 2 alkyl groups on my ether as an alkyl group, and then you put the word ether on the end because it's an ether. So and these are in alphabetical order. So we look at the 2 groups we have. We have a methyl on this side, and we have 1, 2, 3 carbons, so a propyl on this side. Alphabetically, methyl comes before propyl. So this is called methyl propyl ether. That's the same as methoxypropane, IUPAC. We would call it methylpropyl ether common name. So 1-ethoxyethane, this compound, looks kind of like a bat. Let's name the two groups. We have a 2-carbon group, ethyl, and an ethyl. So instead of saying ethyl ether, well, there's two of them, so we just call it diethyl ether. This one, we have a methyl on this side. And this would be a 2-methyl propyl, or we might recognize that as a tert-butyl group. So let's see, we could just call this then methyl, tert-butyl ether. And that's how you name ethers. I think this way might be a little easier, because if you're thinking about two groups on a ether, maybe a phenyl and a methyl, you might think of this compound and trying to name it, you go, I want the ether, the phenyl methyl ether, and we would know what you're talking about, and we could go get it from the stockroom right away. So you can just name the two R groups and put the word ether on the end. That's the common way of naming them. I hope that helps. Subscribe to the channel and learn more organic chemistry from me.